The best in the West in association with Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union is your trusted local financial partner. Access your money 24/7 from anywhere in the world with an Access Credit Union current account and enjoy all the benefits while keeping your money local. We support local communities. We support you.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport Podcast. My name is Jack McCarran of the Southern Star and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. On today's podcast we're going to hear from Kinsale golfer John Murphy. John, who plays his golf for the University of Louisville, recently won this year's Byron Nelson Award, a prize open to seniors across the USA. The prestigious award, which takes into account both golfing ability and personality, grants Murphy entry to the AT&T Byron Nelson Classic in Dallas on the PGA Tour next May. We're also going to bring you the latest on Best in the West, our search for West Cork's greatest ever sportsperson. With the quarterfinals out of the way, we're down to the final four, and in part 2 we'll bring you details of both semi-finals. The Best in the West is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union is your trusted local financial partner. Access your money 24/7 from anywhere in the world with an Access Credit Union current account and enjoy all the benefits while keeping your money local. Kieran, before we hear from John Murphy, let's start with the news that sport is coming back. As part of the next phase of the reopening of Ireland, the GAA has released a revised schedule for club championship. There's talk of a return for junior and schoolboy soccer. Bowling is already back. It looks like we're going to get a summer of sport after all.
Yeah, Jack, I suppose go back a couple of weeks ago and the look wasn't great for the rest of the year. To be quite honest, it looked like there'd be no GAA and the rest of the sports kind of followed suit. But the good news the last couple of weeks is that the COVID-19 situation is improving in Ireland. We've seen the cases kind of come down, which is great to see. And the GAA is coming back. Like you said, it was announced late last week by the GAA that the club championships will be coming back online from the very end of July. So you're probably looking at this when the club championships kind of come back all around the country, and there's an 11-week period in, Jack, where the club championships can be played before we move on to the inter-county scene later in the year. So I think what's very interesting too is that they're hoping to get fans at the games. Again, rewind back a couple of weeks and all the talk was about kind of playing games behind closed doors, but now the talk has moved on and it's about getting fans into games. And we have an interview with Tracy Kennedy, the Cork chairperson, in this Thursday's Southern Star, where she's talking about her hope that supporters will be at the club championship games when they return in the July, early August. So that's certainly kind of something to look forward to. Obviously there's lots of kind of boxes to tick and kind of criteria to meet before we get there, but it's all looking very encouraging, Jack.
And do we know anything about the other sports across West Cork? Obviously the GAA, being the organisation that it is, they've set out quite a detailed roadmap to returning. What of the other sports? Last week we had news in the Southern Star of road bowling's return, but what of soccer or rugby? Do we know anything about those yet, or are we still to hear from the likes of the FAI and the IRFU?
As far as I know, the West Cork League and the West Cork Schoolboys League, they're waiting to kind of receive protocol and kind of direction from the FAI, but that's actually expected this week, quite early this week. So we could have news of that in Thursday's Southern Star. So you would think that the soccer would probably follow the same route as the GAA and that they will see a return to action. I think the West Cork Schoolboys League, I've heard they're trying to pencil in a return later in the next couple of months. So it does look like a lot of the sports are coming back online, which is brilliant to see. Like you said there, road bowling has returned this week with juvenile championships, and they're talking about getting the vintage championships back online next month. Rowers are back on the water training, only in single sculls at the moment. And what was great too, Jack, as well, last Friday when the government announced the easing of restrictions, was that high performance athletes are allowed return to their training bases. So for the likes of West Cork's elite sports people, we're thinking of the rowers there from Skibbereen, or looking at the likes of Phil Healy, they can now access their training centres for the first time in months. So that will help their preparations going forward this year and looking ahead to next year with the Olympics planned. So it's all quite positive at the moment. From a couple of months ago or a couple of weeks ago, when the sporting outlook looked quite bleak and we were really kind of facing up to the prospect of no live sport in 2020, now we will have live sport, and I think that's great news. It's just good for the communities. On the GA for a second, there's every community in the country is kind of linked with the GA club, and the fact that GA is coming back, it just add an extra pep in the step for people too. Kind of, it's something to look forward to, and if you can get fans into those games, fantastic. Obviously, once it's safe to do so, but it seems to be on the right track at the moment, and just fingers crossed everything stays and sticks according to plan.
Well, I can't wait to get back up and running. I got new Adidas boots in a sale about 2 weeks ago, so I can't wait to be strutting my stuff back on the Baltimore Road. But Kieran, we leave my dreams and ambitions there for a second. Let's talk about Kinsale golfer John Murphy. You had a chance to catch up with him. We're going to hear from him in a second, but just for those of our listeners who aren't quite familiar with his story, could you give us a brief summation of who he is and what this award he won is all about?
John Murphy is a Kinsale golfer who's he's hitting the headlines in America for all the right reasons. I suppose before he went to America, he had a couple of big wins back here in Ireland. He won the Mullingar Scratch Cup. He was following in some very famous footsteps there. Go back 2 or 3 years ago, he won the Lynx Trophy in St Andrews, which was a huge breakthrough win for him. So he's someone who has been on the rise in the last couple of years, and he went over to the University of Louisville and on a scholarship, and he's really taken off there. He's won the Byron Nelson Award. That's a huge award to win. I think as far as I know, there's 900 colleges that are involved in golf in America, and for a Kinsale man to be picked as the overall winner is a huge coup for him. It's a very prestigious award, and one of the big perks of John's award is that he's also won entry into a PGA Tour event in Dallas in May 2021. That's huge, absolutely huge. For a fella from West Cork to be going to the Byron Nelson Classic next year and lining up with the big boys, you know, kind of, you're talking about the world's elite golfers, and John Murphy will be right there beside them. I suppose here in West Cork, go back 2 years ago, he was presented with a West Cork Sports Star Monthly Award for his achievements, and he's continued on from that. So he's home at the moment. He's not going back to America for a couple of weeks, so it was a great chance to catch up with him and find out how much he's enjoying life in America. Delighted to be joined on the Star Sport podcast this week by Kinsale golfer John Murphy, who was in plenty of headlines lately after he won the Byron Nelson Award. First off, John, congratulations, big award to win. Fill us in on this award first, to kind of how prestigious this award is in American golf.
Yeah, firstly, thanks for having me on, Kieran. So yeah, this award is basically it combines golf and academics along with citizenship, and it looks at kind of how you treat others. So there's other coaches kind of have an input into it, and it's kind of dependent on, I suppose, your attitude and how you treat others and how others perceive you. So certainly, I've obviously had a great time over in terms of golf in my senior year. I really, I suppose I really enjoyed the experience, but getting recognised for something other than golf as well was very satisfactory for me. So yeah, it was something that I'll always be grateful for.
One of the big perks of this award, John, is that you've got entry into a PGA Tour event, the Byron Nelson Classic, I think in Dallas next year. Like, that's a magnificent opportunity. You must be looking forward to that already. Yeah,
absolutely. I suppose just kind of trying to not think about it too much now at this point is going to be a problem. I've had a lot of people ask me about it since, and I've had a lot of people tell me they're going over and whatnot. And I've, the last couple of weeks has kind of been orientated around playing the PGA Tour event, which, I don't want to downplay it too much, because it's the kind of thing that I've dreamed of as a kid. So I'm delighted to finally get that opportunity. So, just looking forward. Like it's going to be a great experience, and it's certainly something to look forward to in the next year.
Looks like there'll be a mass exodus from Kinsale and West Cork to the Byron Nelson Classic next year. But like you were saying,
Kylie Coach taking us down in the bus. Yeah, that's it.
It's a PGA Tour event. Like it's one of the big events. Kind of you're getting to line up beside the big boys. Kind of that's the stuff of dreams, I presume.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's yeah. As I said, you grow up as a kid. You're playing Tiger Woods PGA Tour on the PlayStation. You're just watching. Well, sorry, for me anyway. I was watching PGA Tour events week in, week out, just kind of dreaming of being able to compete with them someday, and just having that vision. Like as much as you think about it, and as much as you dream of having a 6-footer in a PGA Tour event, or the nerves of the PGA Tour event. As much as you think about it, it's kind of hard to really imagine yourself there. So the fact that I do get to go there now and put myself in that position and challenge with or compete with some of the best players in the world, that's certainly a dream come true, I suppose, and just something that, as I said, I can really look forward to within the next year.
Winning this Byron Nelson Award, will that open more doors for you going forward, John? I presume over the last couple of weeks you probably found there's more of a spotlight on you. Like there's been a lot of stories online and in newspapers, and you've been profiled a lot more. Do you hope that it will kind of, like I said, open doors for you in the next weeks, months and years ahead?
Yeah, I do. I think, yeah, I've certainly found that there's probably been a bit more interest in, well, like people contacting me and stuff like that. A few agencies asking what my plan is moving forward. But again, I don't want to kind of get caught up in that thing, because in the end of the day, I think I have a long way to go to get to where I want to be, and I'm going back to play another year of college golf over in America. So I think that I just have to focus on what's in front of me right now, and I need to get ready for my next college season, and just kind of, I don't want to blow it too far out of proportion either, because as I said, I do feel like I still have a long way to go to get to where I really need to be. So I just kind of at the moment just have to stay grounded. I still have my friends out in Kinsale Golf Club mocking me about hitting snap hooks and whatnot. So that's good to I suppose keep my feet on the ground for now, and just to remind me that I still have a long journey ahead of me. So what I work on with my coach Ian is just staying in the present and just doing everything I can, and just, as cliche as it sounds, just focusing on the next shot. So that's all I'm going to focus on for the next one now, I think.
It's one of those rare good news stories in the last couple of months with everything going on. It's great to see a kind of a local West Cork fella going so well. And like you mentioned there, John, you're heading back out to America so for one more year in Louisville, is it? Yeah.
So my senior year this year was cut short because the coronavirus it cut all the spring sports over there short. So whoever was competing in a spring sport, so sports like there was us, there was baseball, a few other sports, we actually got an extra year of eligibility, which was lucky in a sense, because it has given me the opportunity to go back now and do an extra year of study and add on to my degree, and as well just hopefully keep getting better, because what I have over there in the University of Louisville is exceptional in terms of facilities. We have everything we need to get better. So I'm going to avail of that opportunity to go back and hopefully just, as I said, continue to get better.
You've been at the university for a couple of years now. Putting golf aside for a second, kind of what sort of life experience has it been for you? You're over now, you're soaking up a different culture, a different lifestyle. What's the whole adventure been like in America?
Yeah, at the start I was very hesitant to go over. I was kind of, I'm a huge fan of Kinsale and Cork, and I've loved growing up here and living here, and I thought that it could have been a bit of a shock for me, not having mum or dad's roast on a Sunday. I thought that could have been a problem, but thankfully, I kind of landed on my feet over there. I think I had a team around me that were very supportive, and that kind of made me feel at home straight away, and that was very important for me. And I just felt very comfortable straight away. And honestly, like I was having such a great time that it was just going so quickly. Everything was just going by so quick. We were kept busy between the schedule and whatnot, and before you know it, it's Christmas and you're home again, and then you get home and you realize everything's the exact same as it was when you left, and then before you know it, at Christmas it's time to jet off again. So it's been a lot easier transition than I thought it would be, and it's something that I'd certainly recommend to anybody who's considering maybe moving, maybe not. I'd certainly, it's a big world out there, so I'd certainly recommend going out and seeing it as much as you can.
The fact you found your feet so fast over in America, and pardon the very bad pun here, but did it help you get into the swing of things a lot faster on the course then, kind of make you more, kind of find your feet on the course a lot quicker?
Yeah, honestly, I actually kind of struggled my first year there in terms of golf. I got surgery on my knee in my first year there, and it took me a bit of time to get back into it. And I think I was struggling a little bit. But honestly, as I said, I was having such a good time over there and just enjoying the opportunity that was there for me that, I just found it very easy to kind of pick myself back up. Because golf is a very mentally draining sport. So if things aren't going well like on the course, it can often reflect on your mood off the course. And I just tried to not let that happen and just tried to enjoy the opportunity that I had, because I know that there'd be a lot of people who would love to have had that opportunity. And yeah, I suppose I just kind of tried to keep focusing on what was in front of me. And I knew that I had everything I needed to get better. So yeah, thankfully, ever since my first year where I struggled a little bit, I felt myself getting a little better ever since. And hopefully we'll be able to keep moving in that direction.
You've been obviously back home in Kinsale for the last couple of weeks with this COVID-19 pandemic. Was it nice to get back out on the course in the last few weeks too, to get back into the swing of things, to get back doing what you love?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just getting to see the people that I grew up playing with. There's been a lot of very good golfers come through Kinsale the last number of years. Obviously Cahill, Butler, Gary Ward were fairly instrumental in me getting better as a player. And, it's great to just go out and play with them again, and just, it almost feels like we're kids again, just going out in the golf course in the morning and just being able to play and have a laugh. And, because the thing with golf is that, well, yeah, my life has been somewhat based around golf the last few years. So it's nice to just be able to enjoy it again, as opposed to getting too bogged down about results or thinking, there's no results at the moment. Nobody cares what you're shooting. Nobody cares how you're playing. And I've kind of enjoyed that element of it. At the same time, I'm a very competitive person, and I don't want too much of that. I don't want to, just take golf as a laugh for the next while. I'd love to kind of have a set date for my next tournament so I can start working again. But yeah, as I said, I've really enjoyed just being able to go out with a few of my friends and just have a laugh the last few weeks. Yeah, it's been great to catch up with them.
You mentioned Gary Ward there. I remember Dennis Hurley had an interview with you in the Southern Star years ago, and you mentioned Gary as one of the fellas who got you started in golf in the first place. I think you said you were 12 or 13. Just take me back to then, John. How come you played GA? How come you decided to kind of follow the golf route? Did you just take to the sport straight away? What was it about it?
Yeah, to be honest, no, I didn't take to the sport straight away at all. I was never the best player in growing up. I was never, I never really stood out as a very good golfer growing up. I suppose one thing was I preferred other sports. I much preferred playing GAA and playing team and contact sports. I was pretty small as a kid, so I was able to run around everyone, and I enjoyed that luxury. But then when I started to grow a bit and got a bit slower, I think I took to golf a bit more, and I got injured as well when I was probably 16 or going on 17 maybe, I would have been 17 going on 18, and that kind of put a stop to me playing GAA. So yeah, I wasn't able to run or put a lot of pressure on my knee, and eventually I got surgery when I went over for my first year in Louisville. But I certainly do miss the GAA. Every year when I come back, I come back playing with the juniors and hurling, and that's one of my favorite parts of coming back over summer is getting to play again. So yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to keep doing that for, but I'm relishing it while I can. So.
And was there any one moment along this journey in golf that you realised, Jesus, I'm actually quite good at this? Was there any tournament, any competition that you just stood out?
Yeah, my under 17 year, I don't know, was even on the Munster panel at the start of that year, and I remember Ian Stafford, my coach, coming up to me at the start of that year and saying, look, I'm doing a player profile here, and I need somebody to document and really work with over winter and see if they can improve. So, do you want to give golf a proper go here? And I said, yeah, I'd be delighted to. So we really put in some really good work that winter. Went into my under 17 year, and I just had a string of really good finishes. And yeah, I'd like to think I'd kind of had a steady progression ever since that year. I really started to take it seriously, started to be more productive, and I think I matured a bit as well, which helped me realize what I needed to do to get better. So yeah, I think my under 17 year was really, I went from 6 to scratch in the space of a year, which was a pretty big jump for me. So yeah, I think that was certainly where it started to change.
And there's been plenty highlights in the last couple of years, and I'm going to take you back to the Andrew Links Trophy success. Like that was another one that saw you kind of garner a lot of the headlines. How important was that for you in terms of your development?
Yeah, that was huge because it was a really big amateur event, and I was just, to be honest, I considered myself lucky to be playing. At the time, I'd say I would have had a lot of success in amateur events in Ireland, but not on an international stage. And I went over to the event, and I think I was 400 to 1 at the start of the week, playing that event. And I was one of the last players to get into the field. I only just about got in from a sponsors exemption just from an exemption from the GUI. And yeah, thankfully just went over and everything just clicked. I felt really comfortable. It was I got to play St Andrews, which is obviously a great opportunity in itself. Just not to mind the tournament. I was just happy to be there, and yeah, just everything kind of went right. Even going down the stretch, I went into a playoff, and I hold a 30-foot putt to win it in the end, which that's just a rare thing to happen. I can't say that was down to pure skill, because you do need an element of luck if something like that's going to happen to you at the right time. So yeah, I just feel very lucky that I got the opportunity to do that, and thankfully just everything worked out.
And you followed in some very famous footsteps when you won the Mullingar Scratch Cup. That was another great one to add to the trophy cabinet.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because last summer was probably, ever since that under 17 year, as I said, I think I had a pretty steady progression. But I think last year, 2019, I felt like I struggled over summer, which was something that I hadn't really been used to for a few years. And I was just kind of struggling with golf, to be honest. And then the end of summer came, and I was tossing up with Ian, my coach, if I was going to play that event or not, because I'd had a long and draining summer. And I think he felt that I was a bit burnt out, and he didn't really see much value in me going to play. And I kind of agreed with him in one sense, but I don't know, I just had a feeling that something was going to happen and things were going to turn. And I went up anyway. I decided to go the day before it started, because it's it's such a good event and such a big scratch cup. And I decided to go up, and just thankfully found myself in contention again. And that's when I enjoy golf the most, is when there's really pressure on, and when I'm in contention and when I'm competing for titles. That's when I feel most comfortable. And then once I put myself in that position, then I just kind of felt comfortable again, and just kind of realized that this is why I play golf. This is what makes it fun for me. So yeah, thankfully I decided to go to that, and things worked out in the end again.
When you have good days with any golfer, the good days can be very good, but in the bad days, they're so frustrating. They're like the days you want to just throw the clubs into the water. Kind of, how do you get through the bad days, Dane? I suppose for golfers listening to this, when they're having a bad round, when their swing isn't what they want, what advice can you give them, John, just to help them, I suppose, get back on track?
Yeah, it's inevitable that that's going to happen if you choose to play golf, or any sport really. It's the case, but golf in particular is very mentally draining more than anything. And everybody sees the rewards that you get from the good days, and everybody sees you posting nice pictures, but nobody's the only people that are really there for the bad days are your parents and your close family and friends. But yeah, certainly one thing that I've come to realize is, my old assistant coach actually gave me this piece of advice, is that it's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is. I came off the course there at a point last summer, and I contemplated if I even wanted to keep playing. I was like, I just can't deal with this disappointment. And then sure, 2 days later, you're like, what was I whinging about? It's only a game, just get on with it. Nobody cares. You just gotta keep moving forward, I suppose, and just try to keep improving. And another thing is, it's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is. It's something that I've kind of tried to live by as much as possible the last while, because it certainly helps the bad days feel better, and it certainly helps you feel a bit more grounded when you're having good days, and make you realize that you still have a long way to go. So
probably I know the answer to this question, but what's your favorite course?
It's a tough one. The Old Head of Kinsale is amazing. If you get that on a calm day, I don't think there's any better golfing destination in the world. But yeah, I suppose with the history that's behind it, and with the success that I had there, I find it hard to look past St Andrews as well.
I have a question here from our digital editor. He's Jack McCarran. He's a Kilkenny man, and myself and Jack have had arguments over the years about Adam Sandler and Happy Gilmore, because I'm just not an Adam Sandler fan at all. And Jack wants me to ask you, do you rate Happy Gilmore as a golf film, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I do. Sure, when I was growing up, I used to think it was the funniest thing in the world. Like, I'd watch it on a weekly basis almost. Yeah, no, I did. I suppose that I actually would be an Adam Sandler fan. That and The Longest Yard were my two movies growing up. So I'd be against you in this scenario and say that I'd be a huge fan of Happy Gilmore.
I think yourself and Jack McCarran will get on quite well. But even when it comes to, I suppose, golf and the movies, what are your favourite golf movies? I know it's a niche market, you could say, but is there any one that stands out besides Happy Gilmore?
You know what? There's actually one more that's, I can only really think of. Caddyshack as well is a really good one. But there's another one called The Greatest Game Ever Played, and I've just never got around to watching it. It's meant to be an incredible movie, and people tell me all the time who don't even play golf to watch it, and I've just never got around to it. So that's something I have to do. But yeah, certainly Happy Gilmore and Caddyshack are the two that stand out to me.
We're also running a competition in the Southern Star at the moment called Best in the West. It's our search for West Cork's greatest sports person. If I had to ask you, John, who your favourite West Cork sports person is from over the years?
Yeah, I suppose the O'Donovans have made a name for themselves for more than just rowing. I would have been a huge fan of the O'Donovans. Who's in the running? Who's the last date at the moment? I know Phil Healy. She's obviously she's a great person.
Healy's there. Paul O'Donovan, we've Keith Cronin, but then I suppose from the shortlist of 16, you'd the likes of Conor Horan from Bandon, you'd John Caulfield, you'd Nolly Cleary, Jennifer O'Leary. They're the best of the best. So I suppose we're so lucky here in West Cork that there's so many talented sports people, isn't there?
Yeah, I was trying to think like how you could limit it down to. I saw the polls on Twitter. I'd been voting on them, alright, but I'd wondered how you got to the conclusion of the final 16, because it must have been a tough one to even narrow down to that much. But yeah, I suppose we're very lucky that there is so much great sports people coming out of West Cork at the moment, and hopefully it'll only get better from here. I mean, with the likes of even Conor Horan emerging now. Was he the first Premier League player? He's the first
West Cork Premier League player and the first West Cork man to ever play kind of senior with the Republic of Ireland too. So he's setting the trend there as well. So incredible sports people.
I know there's loads of good local lads here that would have gone to Kinsale Community School that are up and coming now. You have the likes of Charlie Lyons, who's obviously up and coming. Hopefully he can do some great things. And yeah, I suppose hopefully Conor Horan's kind of paving a path there to get more people into the Premier League. And I know the likes of Finian Wycherley as well, also paving a path for people in West Cork even Bandon Rugby Club, Bandon Grammar School, they've been competitive in the Senior Cup the last few years, which is pretty rare from a West Cork school. So it's great to see them competing with the city boys, and hopefully that can continue for future years, and we'll see some more West Cork people lining out in the green jersey.
What's your plan the next couple of weeks, John, before you head stateside again?
So I'm hoping that I can get back into America in July to play a few tournaments. We'll have to wait and see now if they'll let me in or not. But if I can get back in, then I'll probably make a date where I'll play my first tournament and work towards that date, because that's something that I've always kind of done, is I've worked towards something. I don't just I don't like just going out and working aimlessly for no reason and not looking forward to anything. So if I can get a date where I play my first tournament, then I can kind of put a structure to it and base my practice around that. And I suppose just enjoying being at home as well. I don't want to get too caught up in golf and having to practice. It's very rare that I get to come home and see my friends and see my family. So I suppose just enjoying what I have here at home for now, and enjoying the great weather that we have, because that's pretty rare as well, isn't it?
You mentioned too, actually, John, that you're very competitive. As a golfer, kind of intrigues me kind of how you harness that competitiveness, because let's say it's a football match, you can go off and shoulder the fella beside you. If it's a soccer, you can go through the defender or the forward. As a golfer, how do you harness that competitiveness to kind of not actually affect your game?
Yeah, that is a tough thing to do. Like I've noticed before when I've been playing matches against people who might have done one or two things that I didn't like, that I actually it just adds a lot of pressure. I feel you want to win so bad and almost too bad that like you're almost too up for it in one sense, because golf is all about emotions and controlling them. And in the end of the day, in golf, you just have to stay in the present, and you just have to realize, like, as a competitive person, I have to realize that I just have to do whatever I can in the moment to achieve the best results I can, and whether that be just taking a time out, taking a few deep breaths and reassessing for my next shot. But it certainly is a tough thing to do, is trying to neutralize your competitiveness when you're on the course. But what really helps me with my competitiveness in golf is just like my learning to win is one thing. Being able to win is certainly something that's important, and that's something that Shane Lowry said to me there when we met him over Christmas. He said, winning at whatever level you're playing at is so important for moving forward and just learning how to win. But then my competitiveness also carries me a lot, I suppose, in practice. If I'm going out to the golf course, and it's very easy for me to remember a time where I lost a match that I shouldn't have, or where somebody that I wouldn't be best friends with maybe beat me. Situations like that can help kind of motivate me to try and gain a competitive advantage against them during practice. So it's helped me in a few ways, all right. But there certainly has been times where it might have hindered me as well.
And continue doing what you're doing, because you're obviously doing the right things. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again on the Byron Nelson Award. Fantastic achievement, and best of luck and best wishes for the future, John.
Thank you very much for having me, Kieran. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
The best in the West, in association with Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union is your trusted local financial partner. Access your money 24/7 from anywhere in the world with an Access Credit Union current account, and enjoy all the benefits while keeping your money local. We support local communities. We support you.
Welcome back to the Star Sport Podcast, and we're going to switch our attention now to Best in the West, our search for West Cork's greatest ever sports person. But before we look back on the quarter-final ties, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about our partner in this search, and that is, of course, Access Credit Union. I mentioned a few weeks back that I'd started the process of opening a current account with Access Credit Union, and I have to say I couldn't be happier with the service they've given me. Finally, Kieran, a real alternative to a regular current account. From today, so get your phones out. They're going to be taking membership applications over the phone in order to protect both the staff and their customers, and either you can call them or they'll arrange for someone to call you at a more suitable time. The only time then that you'll actually have to go in to the credit union is to drop in your ID, so it should take no more than 10 minutes, making life that bit easier for everyone. One of the many benefits of having your current account with Access Credit Union is that you'll get your IBAN immediately, as opposed to waiting weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for it from the bank. You'll also be helping the local community and economy, which is more important right now than ever before. But don't take my word for it. Give them a call today. It was Amanda who looked after me at the Access Credit Union in Skibbereen, and she couldn't have been any more helpful if she tried. So give Amanda a call today and she'll sort you out too. But Kieran, let's switch our attention now to the quarterfinals of Best in the West. This is once again our search for West Cork's greatest ever sports person, and what a weekend we had.
Incredible weekend, Jack. First off, to say well done to Access Credit Union for getting your business, because as a Kilkenny man, I thought Kerry people were tight, but Kilkenny men are tighter, so that's a lot of money heading towards the Access Credit Union. So good business for them right there. But like you said, Jack, quarterfinals were on last weekend, and Jesus, what a weekend. It was brilliant. I know there's kind of live sport is starting to come back kind of in the Bundesliga and different soccer leagues around Europe. I was actually watching live sport on the Twitter polls the weekend. I spent my weekend checking on those Twitter polls to see how they were working out, and from Friday right through to Monday, it was epic. I just run through them very quickly. On Friday, it was Bill Daly, the road bowling champion, up against legendary Cork and Bantry Blues footballer Graham Canty. And at one stage, Canty held a big lead, but the road bowling community kind of rallied, and Bill scored a great win there, kind of 51% to 49%, and it went right down to the end. Then on Saturday, what a heavyweight tussle we had here. It was incredible. It was motorsport driver Keith Cronin from Ballylickey up against Cork Camo's finest Jennifer O'Leary. And this was an absolute epic best in the West quarter-final. It swung one way, then the other way. I lost count of how many times the lead swapped hands. And in the end, after nearly 2,300 votes, Keith Cronin pipped it by 2%. It was that close. Then on to Sunday, it was Paul O'Donovan, the world champion rower from Skibbereen, up against Castlehaven and Cork football legend Niall Cahalan. And if you remember, Jack, last week I was saying that for Paul to advance here, that he needed people to come out and support him, because I thought the support he got in his first round win wasn't great. But by God, people came out and supported Paul O'Donovan. He had an emphatic win, 62% to 38% against Niall Cahalan. And that breaks down. He had well over 1,000 votes just for Paul alone, which was a huge number. And then on Monday, it was David Hart against Phil Healy. And Phil Healy had a comfortable kind of track line win here by 75% to 25%. But I just want to say congratulations to David Hart and his wife, who welcomed their first little baby into the world earlier this week. So congratulations to them. So
there's some consolation, I suppose, Kieran.
Yeah, it's a better than the consolation prize. It's tremendous news for David. So he was otherwise engaged this week. So I think he'll concede this one to Phil Healy. So what we have now, the last four standing to advance to the semi-finals that are on this weekend. We're going to have Bill Daly against Keith Cronin on Saturday, and then on Sunday it's Paul O'Donovan against Phil Healy.
Paul O'Donovan and Phil Healy, like, that's an absolute cracker of a tie. Two of the biggest, or the highest profile athletes we have. One's an Olympic silver medalist, the other would have been in contention for at least a medal perhaps at this year's Olympics if they had gone ahead. And then in the other semi-final, it's, as I called him last week, the best moustache in road bowling up against Ireland's greatest ever, or West Cork's greatest ever rally driver. I wouldn't have the knowledge to say he's Ireland's greatest ever, but he possibly is. He's got quite a CV. And what I'm interested to see with the tie number one there, the tie between Keith Cronin and Bill Daly, throughout this whole competition, both communities involved in their sports have really got behind their men. So the road bowling community has been out on social media rallying the troops from all around the country, as have the rallying community getting behind their man. So it's going to be interesting to see. It could come down to who has a more rabid fan base. Is it the road bowlers or is it the rally drivers? So we've made predictions throughout this. Paul O'Donovan is still in contention. We both picked him to win at the start, but I think it's almost impossible to pick who's going to go through from these two semi-finals.
And I think what happens too, when you see the polls being tight, then you see a lot more kind of engagement and interaction with it. Phil Healy took a very early lead against David Hart in their would say she cantered victory, was never ever trouble. Go back to the Keith Cronin and Jennifer O'Leary. It was so tight. You could see the canvassing going on Twitter. There was the amount of retweets, likes, and engagement with that poll was incredible to see. So I can actually predict that Paul O'Donovan and Phil Healy could be an absolute epic. I think it's going to be very, very tight. And what that does then, as the day progresses, more and more people engage with it. They'll get involved. They'll become aware of what's going on. So, it's an absolute epic. Like Paul O'Donovan, the greatest Irish rower of all time. Phil Healy, the greatest Irish women's sprinter of all time. Both young West Cork people. And just as a side note, at the 2019 West Cork Sports Star Awards in the Celtic Ross, that's when Phil Healy was crowned the West Cork Sports Star of the Year. Herself and Paul met for the first time ever, and it was actually at the end of the night after Phil won the award. We were taking her out to the lobby of the Celtic Ross for the official pictures, and Paul O'Donovan was there, and they spoke for a couple of moments. I remember taking a picture on my phone. I was like, this is too good an opportunity to turn down kind of two of the greatest kind of Irish sports stars of the current era, and two of West Cork's finest together for the first time. And now here we have it 2 years later, a year and a half later, they're facing off in a best in the West semi-final. So I think it's going to be incredible. And I'm like a broken record here, Jack, and I just want to say as well that what I love about this best in the West competition is we'll have a winner at the end of it. But what this has done for even the profile of all the 16 that were shortlisted, and especially those who are involved in the latter stages, you're teaching a different audience all about them. Kind of how many West Cork sport fans out there can put up their hand and admit that they knew Bill Daly won 2 world titles, that he was a 2-time county champion, that he won the King of the Roads 5 times. I don't think many can. So I think it's brilliant that we're getting to educate, not really educate's the wrong word, sorry, but just to share these West Cork sports people's exploits and celebrate them all over again. Keith Cronin is another great example. The man won the British Rally Championship 4 times. He's a legend in motorsport circles, but maybe outside of that, probably he wasn't fully appreciated for the talent that he is. But now you can see on social media with the following that he has and how the motorsport community is rallying in behind him, just how highly they rate Keith Cronin. So I think it's the silver lining to all this. It's just great to see these West Cork sports people being celebrated and lauded for their achievements over the years.
And then just before we finish this segment, Kieran, just remind the listeners when the votes will be taking place for the semi-finals.
So the first semi-final is Saturday, June 13th, which is this Saturday, and it's between Bill Daly and Keith Cronin. The poll opens at 10 a.m. on my Twitter page and it runs through to 2 a.m. that night. So there's that 16-hour window there. So whether you're on Twitter in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, or late into the night, there's no excuse not to vote. And the same applies for Sunday, which is June 14th, when Paul O'Donovan and Phil Healy face off. Again, the poll opens at 10 a.m. It goes through to 2 a.m. So there's no excuse not to vote. And now that we're down to the last 4, we're going to have finalists by next Monday. So I'm encouraging everyone who's on social media and on Twitter to please vote, kind of have your say. There's 4 people left now, and let's crown the best in the West. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're not on Twitter, just join Twitter and vote in this poll, or call in a favour from a friend or a cousin you know is on Twitter. But just make sure you've your say in this, because it's going to get exciting in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to have our best in the West in less than 2 weeks' time. So it's a chance to have your say. So get on my Twitter page this weekend and vote in the semi-finals.
The best in the West in association with Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union is your trusted local financial partner. Access your money 24/7 from anywhere in the world with an Access Credit Union current account, and enjoy all the benefits while keeping your money local. We support local communities. We support you.
Welcome back to the Star Sport Podcast, and before we wrap up today's episode, we're going to take a quick look at what's to come up in this week's Southern Star Sports section. The Southern Star will be in shops across West Cork and beyond from Thursday morning, but if you can't make it to the shops, you can go online, www.southernstar.ie/e-paper, and you can read the Southern Star for less than €2 a week. An absolute bargain. Kieran, what will readers be getting for that €2 per week?
Yeah, plenty of reading in this week's Southern Star Sports section, Jack. A couple of the highlights. What I'm looking forward to is the return of the West Cork Minute. That's West Cork's favourite Q&A question. It has taken a break in the last couple of years because I ran out of questions to ask about penguins. But being in lockdown, it's given me a chance to kind of, reevaluate my thoughts on penguins. So I'm back with a new penguin question, and I'm back with a new West Cork Minute. So that's in this Thursday Southern Star. And Shane Howard of Bandon Athletic Club, who is Ireland's long jump champion, is first up. And as ever, the West Cork Minute is entertaining. It's extreme sensations and absolutely madcap questions, so it's just a bit of fun. We have a couple of good long reads in this week's sports section. Ger McCarthy's spoken to Laura McMahon. She's the Roscarby ladies footballer who won 5 All-Irelands in 6 years with the all-conquering Cork senior football team. Great interview by Ger. I've caught up with Owen Deasy, the St. James's footballer who is now living in New York with his partner. And St. James, Owen was a stalwart of St. James's teams for years and years and years, but he moved to New York in early 2019, and he actually missed the season where St. James's won the Junior Football Championship for the first time. So, but he talks about how it's not, he doesn't regret his decision whatsoever. It's a nice interview with Owen, who actually flew home, Jack, for 4 of the 9 championship games last year from New York back to Cork to cheer on St. James's. So that's dedication for you. And the long read this week is an interview with Skibbereen rower Eugene Coakley, a former Skibbereen rower who rowed for Ireland at the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens. Eugene was part of the Irish lightweight 4 that got to the final but didn't finish last. I think it's a good read. You've actually read this one, Jack. I enjoyed this story because Eugene is quite honest and open about where it all went wrong for that Irish lightweight four. Because when you look at rowing, Gary and Paul O'Donovan won Ireland's first rowing medal at an Olympics back in 2016, and we've seen what that did for their profile. But that lightweight four back in 2004 had the potential to win Ireland's first Olympic medal, but they didn't. And Eugene blames he pins it on decisions made in the run-up to it. So it's an interesting read. I think it's an interesting insight from Eugene into what went on in the Irish lightweight four in the run-up to the Olympics and where it all went wrong. So I think that's well worth picking up the Southern Star Sports section for on Thursday alone. It's a long read, like I said, it's spread across the weekend, so it's something to kind of tuck into for the weekend. So there's plenty in this week's Southern Star, so well picking it up, great value as usual.
Yeah, that long read, as Kieran mentioned, with Eugene Coakley is full of great insight and detail into what it takes to become, first and foremost, an elite athlete, and also the mindset elite athletes have when it comes to searching for that all-important win. That's all we have time for on this week's Star Sport podcast. We'll be back at some stage later in the week for an in-depth preview of the Best in the West semi-finals. If you enjoy these shows, please make sure to rate, review and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Acast, Stitcher or wherever else you listen to the show.